Hello, friends, bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Kahlo on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co host is David, aka Premier Pulls on social media.
Hi everyone. On today, Jen explains spirit guides.
Welcome to the show. Grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share, you'll never feel alone.
So, we have some housekeeping. We have a surprise coming July 1st, so stay tuned.
I'm very excited. Yeah, we don't want to give too much away just because we're still kind of processing some things, but we are going to have some big changes in store coming soon. Not just to the podcast, I would just say to your whole brand, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and our whole life, really.
Yeah, so um this is like a pregnancy announcement. We're not pregnant.
Yeah,
let's just
honestly.
let's just throw that out of the way because that sounds very um we're pregnant and we're not. So yeah, excited. You're also now on TikTok. You've been on TikTok, right? But it hasn't been like
Uh,
Jan Call
I
related.
You know how people have like a Finsta? What's like the Finsta of
What the
TikTok?
hell's a Finsta?
Fake Instagram?
Oh, okay.
It's like where you just shit post.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So my TikTok didn't even have my name. I was just like shit posting on there.
Or just to scroll.
Yeah.
Nice.
So anyway, but I cleaned it up and now I'm on there as myself. So my TikTok is Jen Kahlo, and we're also on YouTube also at Jen Kahlo, just like Instagram. And now for some reason I have the ability to go live, so I might be going live this weekend.
Yeah. And we are also on YouTube. So we are, did you say that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So if you like the YouTube format, you can find us there. As we were setting everything up, we decided to go back and just take some fun snippets from our podcast. And there was this really fun one. You can find it on TikTok where we were talking about like tarot and divination. And you said something along the lines of like, you can use anything for divination, even Pokemon cards. So I want to start like this challenge. I think I did the hashtag Pokemon Tarot Challenge. And you can use like a filter to choose a card. So tag Genesis in it. I'd love to see everybody's like Pokemon cards. You can check out my TikTok as well to see like how it's done. And it'd be cool if you stitch her to see what you get.
Yes, I am looking forward to that. Please interact with our content. I'm trying to be really active on there. I feel like I've really been trying to work at 1,000 followers, so you'll see me posting a lot there, including a lot of random stuff just cuz I'm trying to crank stuff for the algorithm.
And a lot of Lucy content. So if you don't mess too much with like the metaphysical stuff but love dogs, that's also a good account to follow.
Yeah, it's more balanced. I feel like my Instagram is like strictly
Business.
yeah, strictly business. Whereas my TikTok is a little more like random and personal. Like, yeah, I was in TikTok jail and then I was free. That was like a whole saga. So,
Awesome. Well, that's enough housekeeping. Let's go into our community discussion from last week. What an interesting topic, huh? Very just the practice that I think definitely needed the spotlight, especially it's right up our alley, but kind of entailing a lot of interesting practices and scams and yeah. So Miss Mazi on Instagram said someone suggested I see a Guatemalan lady to help me see why I can't get pregnant. She sticks her hand where the sun don't shine and rearranges the furniture if the feng shui isn't right. So what I'm asking is, does this count as psychic surgery? Because they physically do something. It's called subiendo la matriz or lifting a dropped uterus in English. That's there's more to it, but I'm not well informed. Well, first off, our listeners are getting very comfortable with us.
I love it.
No, I love it. Thank you so much, Mozzie, for we joke, but thank you for sharing such like an intimate part of your life with us. I don't know if it's classified as psychic surgery because that's actually a practice. Like that's its own thing.
Hmm.
Also very common in our Latino culture. We have very interesting practices, don't we?
Yes.
But yeah, I've definitely heard of subiendo la matriz or lifting the dropped uterus. Um, The thing is, I don't know if they're going at it from like a metaphysical approach. I think it's more of it might not be like proven science, but I think their approach is a more like physiological one as opposed to a metaphysical one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's like a massage therapy technique. I've heard it as sobando
Hmm.
instead of subiendo. Sobando means to massage. La matriz is the womb.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe it doesn't have a lot of like scientific articles written about it, but it's more like
Ancient
tangible.
medicine
Yeah,
type.
ancient medicine type stuff. We've gotten one and it's felt great. I feel like it's an awesome thing if you're looking to like stimulate blood flow to your womb and stuff. But psychic surgery is more like I have to cut you open to release this evil inside you, or like I can cure you of this. Versus like sobando la matriz is more like I can stimulate blood flow, which hopefully will lead to more fertility.
Yeah, again, a more physiological or anatomical approach as opposed to a spiritual approach. Now, there can be spiritual aspects to it. With I'd say what homeopathy and like we talked about with oh my gosh, apothecary. There's different things or herbs they can suggest as well. But as far as psychic surgery, I don't think it would be a psychic surgery.
Yeah, and I know that we mentioned some psychic surgeries don't necessarily have to like cut you open, but they're saying that they're cutting you open like on the other side type of thing. So basically it's like if they claim they're cutting you open in some way, shape, or form, that's probably psychic surgery.
Yeah. But very interesting. I hope that was a more enjoyable experience than traumatizing, but hopefully it went well. All right, so we're going to get into spirit guides today. What are spirit guides? Anytime I hear like guide, I always think of like theme parks. Like, this is your guide on this tour.
This tour called life.
Yeah, this tour called life.
This roller coaster called life.
Yes. So hit us with the spirit guides.
Yeah, so spirit guides and spiritual guidance is not a new concept. Belief systems since the dawn of time have believed in help from, the astral, whether it's God or gods, goddesses, angels, ancestors, or something else. Um, Sort of where it can get a little tricky, like nowadays, is when people are appropriating like a closed practice like spirit animals. Like we don't want to claim that if you're not in that population, or anything related to like voodoo or santeria or anything that are closed practices. But could everyone have spiritual guides? Absolutely. It's just like, how do you identify them for yourself?
Okay.
So I know that I've referenced a lot of people who I call my spirit team. So this is why like this question I feel like really came out with a few of our listeners. So I really recommend looking at your existing cultural and spiritual beliefs if you belong to a specific community and if you feel like it makes sense for you. Past that, you could attempt to contact or identify via divination, like tarot or like a pendulum board or a Ouija board. You could also look for omens or signs to
Okay.
see for hints. Or if you're interested in like someone helping you in deity identification, tarot is a good way to start, like with specific tarot readers that specialize in that. For example, we have Vanna here locally, who I'm sure could also do video calls, who is really good at this. She can identify a lot of different deities and like has a lot of knowledge about like the background and history. So her Instagram is at KITSELYSIUM. I'll also tag her in the comments.
The thing with Vanna is awesome because we had a little bit of that experience with her. She reached out to us after the water episode and said that she was getting a strong feeling about Poseidon with how I was speaking in regards to my relationship with water. And even though I am a skeptic and I don't really believe in like having your spirit guide, I thought that was kind of cool. It really resonated with me. And it's just cool that like she got a message and was like, "Hey, by the way, Poseidon's fucking with you right now."
And even if you're not like a believer per se, Vanna is just really good at picking up like who you can look to, or like whose story you can look to get guidance. Like there are so many beautiful pieces of art that we turn to, whether it's like a specific movie or a specific book,
Artwork.
artwork,
Yeah.
like she can really tap into like what you need right now and recommend, like I recommend you read on so and so's like myth and story, and then get inspired from that. So even if you don't necessarily believe that, like, let's say
You,
Poseidon, Medusa, etc. exists, like I would still recommend reaching out to her just for the experience.
cool. All right. What else about spirit guides?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of folks, or something I've seen is like people will want to like go to sweat lodges and like get like their spirit animal and stuff. Like I don't know, definitely just be careful where you tread, but
What if you're invited to it though by somebody from the community?
yeah, invitation is different than just like pushing your way into it, or like forcing your way into it, or speaking about something that like you don't know about, which is why I like stay pretty far away from like voodoo, santeria, any native practices, just because I don't know enough about that to speak on it. But if someone invites you, then someone from the community is inviting you to a closed practice.
Yeah.
It's like spiritual trespassing, right? Like if you're invited in, it's fine, but if not, you might want to be careful.
I think where I and I agree to an extent, but it's such a fine line between appropriation and admiration, right? And it's unfortunate because I'm sure a lot of cultures do want to share their beautiful traditions, and yeah, I'm not saying like go take them over and appropriate them, but also learn. I think an example of that is I know in Mexico there's a lot of smaller indigenous artisans who, I've seen in just kind of pop culture saying like, oh, like you can't wear their stuff or you can't use their stuff. But when you go down there, like A, it's their livelihood. So when you buy from them, it supports them. And B, they want to share their art. They want to share their craftsmanship and their artisan. And a lot of these crafts are ancient. So they're like the last of their kinds. I know in the Philippines there's a lady, I think she's over 100 years old, who does like these very intricate tattoos, and people all over the world like go to her, and like she's literally the last of her kind as far as like the old world traditionalist with that tattoo style. So again, appreciation versus appropriation, yeah, it's a fine line, but also if the world itself, because at the end of the day, like we're all humans, right? If the world does not foster or relic and save these traditions, then they could just die out too. Correct?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like if you buy a dream catcher from that's made in China, mass produced in China, instead of buying it from like a Native American
Yeah.
artisan, and then you research what dream catchers are, and all of a sudden, like it becomes a piece of your identity. You never interacted with that culture to begin with. You're invited into that culture through an exchange, whether it's them saying like, come on over, or you go to where they are and then you purchase like
Yeah.
the item, and they're like, yes, I want to sell this
Okay.
to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like completely different.
Got it. Awesome. All right. And as far as the spiritual guides, do they? I know you mentioned a couple of them, like angels and gods and deities, but are they broken up into different like timelines and sections of human history? Because I know there's like the Judeo-Christian with like saints, but then there's also Greek mythology, Rome mythology, there's Aztec mythology, Egyptian mythology. Um, does it really depend kind of where your guides are based on who you are as a person, what your ancestry is, or how do you determine what guides fit you as an individual?
Yeah, so really just again looking at like your existing cultural and spiritual beliefs, if they resonate with you. And then if it's not a closed practice, if you want to align yourself to something or someone that gets you closer to what you're trying to like achieve, that also works as well. I don't think it necessarily matters like like timeline, like if it was 5000 BCE versus like 400 AD type of thing. I don't think the timeline necessarily
But they're
matters.
also established deities, right? Like, would it be something like I want my spiritual guide, or I feel connected to, I don't know, let's say a Miyazaku character from Spirited Away? Like, right? So what makes it? What makes the distinction? Because to me, you know, everything from angels to Scooby Doo, they're all fiction. So
Yeah.
there, to me, there's no distinction. So like, could you use a spiritual guide that's more modern? Like,
That
let's say I want to choose like my 6 Pokemon, and like these are my spiritual guides. Like, this is my team. Could I do that?
I mean, like I said, there's no one stopping you
No, I know,
from
but what
doing
are your
something like
thoughts?
that.
Like, I'm asking because
Okay.
it's kind of like the ghosts, right? Like, anytime you hear of ghosts, it's usually old timey ghosts, but like, you know, people have died as recently as yesterday. Like, there's no modern ghosts with like iPods, you know, ever depicted. It's always like Victorian area ghosts.
Going back to when we mentioned ghost hunting, that's why I was asking that ghost. I was like, do you know who Dolly Parton is? Do you know who Miley Cyrus is? But anyway, I wanted to save this a little bit later because we have a flow, but whatever. I'll
Okay,
just
we can
start it
save
now.
it, but
No, because you're already asking these questions. So
okay,
I'm just gonna dive into it and then we'll see where we go. But for example, I'm just gonna go through like people that I've mentioned in my story, and then eventually hopefully this helps you see sort of like my thoughts on this.
okay,
So, this isn't necessarily someone on my spirit team, but more like a ghost identification. So, when you use a pendulum board or a Ouija board, you can have things spelled out. And I was trying it, and it was my first time trying it, and I got these random letters. And I was like, this is probably just gibberish, but let me throw it into Google and see what I get.
yeah,
And that's how I got Mubono. And that is how I realized, oh crap, this isn't gibberish. This is an actual name. And I mean, he likes to run up the light bill. He likes to move things. Like, we've seen this, but I feel like ghosts versus all powerful, like, gods are like completely different things. I feel like, maybe some of our energy could be between layers, if you will, versus like is someone completely like in control and can just like, I don't know, wipe you off the face of the earth completely like that, or like completely change your trajectory. Not necessarily. So this might be a really really hot take, but I've done it once to Christianity. I'll do it again. I personally do not believe in supernatural entities, even though I do say I have a spirit team, and let me explain.
yes,
So,
please.
I believe that they are reflections of your highest self and what you are trying to achieve. So, for example, when I work with Archangel Raphael, who is the Archangel of Healing, I feel like I am communicating with the healthiest version of myself that I am trying to get closer to actually living. But right now, I feel like that's really far away. I feel like it's really hard for me to believe that I'm capable of great things sometimes. So, using an archetype of something
Got it.
helps me emulate what I want to have. It's sort of like having a stage
That
persona.
makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So it's like the personification of an ideal being, and they're a
Yes.
guide, like kind of a North Star almost.
Yes. So when I am quote unquote communicating or lighting a candle for Archangel Raphael, that's what I call the healthiest version of myself because he is our archangel of healing. If I was to be like one day I am
I
going to be
see.
healthy, one day I'm going to, like be free of illness and stuff. I can't imagine that right now in my current state. But I can through
Personify it.
through Archangel Raphael.
I see. Okay. I like how you do that. Yeah, that's really cool. Ooh, then I'm really excited to get into these.
So I mention Persephone a lot, or Kore, because it's like spring or summer and gods have different like names at different times. So to me, Persephone or Kore is the most badass, fearless, advocate, girl boss version of me. I really like started studying her.
I'm laughing because I just picture Ben 10 when he puts on the watch and he slaps it and it turns into the character.
I mean, kind
No, I
of.
know. I kid, but go ahead.
Like I was having like some dreams where I saw some like really vivid imagery and I was trying to like connect all the pieces because at a certain point of my life I felt like really stuck, really lost. I went through two deity identifications again, not because I necessarily feel like I'm communicating with a extraterrestrial being or anything like that. It was just more like I wanted guidance as to like whose story should I study, because I don't even know who like my archetype or role model should be right now.
Yeah.
Like I was just completely in the dark. And so after analyzing my dreams, after going to these two readings, I realized, okay, Persephone is who I need to emulate right now. So when I leave like a pomegranate, or like right now I have a beautiful like red and black plant that I can't remember the name of. That's not necessarily me leaving like
Offering.
an offering to her. It's more a reminder to myself, like, you can do this. Like,
Yeah, that's beautiful. I actually really like that. It totally makes sense now. I don't know if I ever saw it like that before, and the way you explained it is really nice. And I think whether you're a believer or not, that's a really good way of going about things, because they do say emulate like those who you aspire to be to. But be careful with that because nobody's infallible too. And I'm talking about just humans. So like, but I like the idea of deities or gods because they can be whatever you need them to be. You know, it's kind of like Batman when I think the saying or one of the characters was like, he's not the hero we deserve, but he's the hero we need.
mm-hmm.
And his thing was like, I'll be whatever you need me to be. Like you can put the blame on me, and it's okay because I can take it because I'm more than just a person. I'm a symbol, and that was his whole thing.
Yeah. So I kind of have some thoughts with like your comment earlier with the like, what about like pop culture references or things like that? It's because like I feel like you just said humans are infallible. So if you see a celebrity and you try to like, oh, they're my role model, and then they do like some shitty things, like that's just like gone and done with.
Yes,
Like it's crumbled versus like an
deities can hold.
yes, because that's
Yes.
just done. That's just like already written in history. You know what I mean? Like what's out there is out there. There's not gonna be like a sex scandal where they're doing like
Well, unless you're Zeus,
he already but you know he already has that. You know what I mean? Like
Zeus keeps it dirty.
yeah, exactly. So
No, but I do like that. I think, yeah, I really like what you're saying, and I can't wait to get into like our examples because I want you to build my spirit team. Yeah.
so that's just like me though. Like Vanna does not I don't think believes the same way that I believe. Like to her, these are like
Yeah,
just
but
like God.
I do like the way you present it though. It makes sense to me, and I think it's a more holistic approach. I think gives you the best of both worlds because if you're a spiritual person, it resonates with you, but also if you're working in self-development or you know working on your mental health, it's nice to be able to have those pillars that, like you said, are not going to be tainted by the human experience
Mm-hmm.
because humans can suck sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I see here in some of our notes that we have some examples of some deities.
Yeah, again, I told you I just went through like pretty much all of this because we just got into it. But I have more to say.
Okay.
So yeah, I have like mega imposter syndrome. That's something that I struggle with. So again, like when I'm really struggling, I just can't imagine myself being out of the struggle. Like it's really hard for me to believe that like I can overcome a hurdle. So this has been a really great way to push through and be like, no, I can do this. And like a way that I can like reflect greatness onto myself using this archetype as like a mirror. But it's also great, even if it's not like a long-term quote unquote relationship. Like I did some work with the myths of Hades, Hermes, and Hecate for a minute to do just like some grief work because I had a death in the family and it brought some like really complicated emotions. I'm considering working with a version of Aphrodite or Aria, which is more like the war version, to boost like workouts and project the healthiest and hottest version of myself. So that one is more like vain versus Archangel Raphael is more like holistic. So it's like different motivations, right?
Yeah, but
Um,
still, get it.
yeah, but I'm still scared of like Santa Muerte, even though again, I personally don't believe it's like a thing, but that it just carries like that archetype just carries such energy of like you need to burn yourself down to build yourself back up, and that's just like a mirror that's too intense for me.
And that's the thing, like, I think the way you mention it, you should be as comfortable with your deities because they're your support, your inspiration, your pillars. So if there's somebody you're not completely vibing with, then it could be counterproductive.
Yes.
But some people like that chaos, man. Some
Yeah,
people
they do.
thrive in that, like, fuck it. Give me the give me the B team and I'll give you A results.
Yeah, like some people are like, "Oh, I need my personal trainer to scream at me." I'm like, "I don't need another person in my fucking lifetime to scream at me." Like
Yeah.
that is totally counterproductive. There's a really good TikToker that explains this concept of being what she calls an atheist witch. Her TikTok is CHAWEONKOO. She's Korean, but she does her videos in English. And look at her middle pinned post, or if that's just like too complicated, DM me and I'll send you her TikTok profile. But again, these are my hot 2 cents of how I feel like a spirit team could be beneficial even if you're not necessarily a believer. If you believe in God,
Deities.
goddesses, deities, then that's great
It's a little
because
easier.
it's above you.
The pipeline is, yeah.
Yes, it's literally above you, but if you're someone that is not necessarily like a believer in that, but you still
Are spiritual.
are spiritual and want like or want to see like what is the benefit of the spirit team, that's how I use it.
Well, and it's nice too because it's like you get kind of boxed in if you're, and again, nothing wrong, with people who have their religious beliefs, but somebody who practices Judeo-Christian, Abrahamic religions, definitely not going to be praying to Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you can kind of like, it's what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, let's do me now. Let's come up with my spiritual team. I want to see kind of what your thoughts are and what my thoughts are.
Oh man, I need Vanna for this. Vanna would be perfect for this exercise.
I think the first one I'll start with is was it not Poseidon? Who's the dude who you love? It's Aquaman, but he's based on who? Is it Poseidon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Poseidon. All right, I think that'd be one, right?
Uh-huh. You have an affinity for water and you really shine there. You've literally saved people from drowning.
A couple times, yes. Who else? Who else do you see me? See, you think I'm being silly, but I would actually go with like, I don't know. I like Batman, and I know he's not a deity, but he's also not a real character. Like, I mean, a real person.
What do you like about him?
Well, that specifically, there's a very resounding quote where he's like, this is in the Dark Knight. There's a million iterations of Batman, but basically, it's like when he's choosing to be Batman, and Alfred, his butler, asks him like why a bat? And he's like, well, I'm scared of bats, so I want my enemies to share in my fear. And basically, it's like if you become more than a person, like you can be like a symbol, right? So like by him daunting a mask and basically removing himself from like the human part of it and becoming a persona, he's more than a person. He's a symbol for what he stands. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, fuck it. It's my spirit team. I'm gonna choose Batman.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, so a lot of DC characters here. I think Batman, Poseidon. Who else? You know what show was great? American Gods. Remember that?
Yes, that was a beautiful show.
And that's actually, if you're kind of vibing with this episode, it's a long series, but it's really, really good. And it talks a little bit about the modern concepts that we're talking about, right? Because so basically, what Modern Gods is, it's a personification of all like the most popular gods throughout history. I think Zeus, Mercury, Odin, they're all like presented in the world and they walk among us as humans, but they're really gods. What's really cool about the show is that they introduce like new gods. What's like the internet is a god.
Oh yes.
Vanity is a god.
Yes.
Just a really good show.
Capitalism,
yeah. And I feel like that kind of is related to this episode. It's a really good watch. Did we finish it? I think you finished it.
No, I don't think so, but I'm inspired now because I
might be worth a rewatch. It was really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. You choose someone for me. Who do you think would be on my spirit team?
I mean, it depends what you're trying to achieve right now. It's not just like who you like. It's like who do you want to emulate? Like
it's hard when you're perfect.
It is. It is my Leo King. It is very hard when you're perfect.
You know, we talk about not being infallible, but I'm pretty damn close. What's the opposite of imposter syndrome? Where maybe you think too highly of narcissism?
Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, you're feeding into the Leo stereotype. Well, I feel like you're on a health journey. Maybe Aries or
Hercules. Hercules.
Yes, but also like Mars, basically Mars Aries, because that's a lot of like physical drive, like physical energy.
I also have a lot of cool Asian background, so while you can't do it, I mean, you have my last name now, so maybe you have, that's my invite, but like, I always think of Mulan with Mushu. Ancestors, here by... But yeah, it'd be cool to see like Asian ones.
I can't speak to that, even though my last name, I'm like, I guess Asian by association, if you will, but I'm not really Asian.
I have when we did a 23andMe, it was like mostly Chinese and Vietnamese, but there was a little Cambodian, Laos, right?
Yeah, I don't know anything over there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll find my Asian spirit team. Cool. Anything else as far as like our examples?
I think you could also work with Archangel Raphael because there's like going to the gym to get swole with
but
like
I want
Aries.
my own team. I don't want your team. I want
me.
my team to be better than yours. I'm telling you, it's like my Pokemon. I'm going to choose my top 6.
Okay. Well, I gave you Aries. I think that would work. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think you and Aphrodite would vibe.
I think
really
Zeus and I would vibe.
No, absolutely not. You and Aphrodite would vibe.
Isn't she the goddess of wine and war?
No, maybe, but she's also into like beauty and vanity. You guys like the same colors, and
I'm not even vain. You're gonna make the people believe that I'm just fucking sitting here in front of a mirror all day.
I think you just speak for yourself.
I outed myself.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. All right. Well, we do have a couple of questions, so thank you so much. These came in at the last hour.
Yeah.
You know, we're recording right now, and Mercy reached out to me. She's like, "Is there still time to do questions?" I was like, "Yes." She's like, "I'm always procrastinating." But it doesn't matter because we love you, Mercy, and thank you so much. Also, because I'm on TikTok, I didn't realize you and I were kind of friends on TikTok, and I saw your TikTok about your kiddo's room, and it is incredible. She's got like this whole... Have you seen it?
No, I need to see it.
Oh my gosh. She has like this whole Harry Potter theme, but it like goes hard.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. Oh, Harry Potter characters.
Okay, pero mira. But then J.K. Rowling comes out with this transphobic bullshit, and then the whole cookie crumbles. Like, this is what I'm talking about with avoiding, like, modern references.
I guess. Anyways. All right. So Mercy asks, what advice do you have for someone who wants to connect with their spirit guides for the first time? I mean, I
Um,
think make a list, right? Because even, I mean, we're trying to do this on the fly and we're finding it difficult. So, based on what you've said during this episode, is take maybe like an introspective look at what your current state is in your life, maybe what you want to achieve. And so, here's one thing I think as humans, we're very prone to look at the now and the later, but we fail to take retrospective. So when you're, sorry, I'm kind of jumping a little bit, but question. So the way you explain that and the way I understand is like maybe what you're trying to emulate, what you're trying to work towards. But what about like a retrospective spirit guide? Like this is what I've accomplished. This is what I've done. Like it almost sounds like it's always about like betterment, fulfilling, looking forward. But what about looking back?
I know Medusa does some work with like SA survivors, basically.
Mhm.
Like people use the myth of Medusa to like move forward.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the same thing because that's not like a joyous thing, but that is a way of looking back.
You know how I kind of think about it? It's you hear people in their golden years and the latter part of their life as they're, winding down the story. They say like when they look back, they don't think of like the monotony, the bad parts. It's like you ask them like, what do you wish you could have done more? And it's always like, well, spend time with those I loved, maybe not work as much. Like all those kind of things. So like what deity would be something that reflects that? Because I think especially us in our generation in our point in time, 2024, I feel like the hustle brain is always on, right? What can I do better? Who can I be? What can I strive? But
Buddha, Be-
Buddha's good.
because Buddha's
Yeah.
non-attachment.
Buddha's non-attachment and very reflection
Mm-hmm.
based.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, that just Mercy. That your question just got me thinking. So, yeah, what advice do you have for someone who wants to connect with their spirit guides for the first time? Take inventory of where you are in your life. Take inventory of where you want to be, and then emulate. You know, not emulate, but find somebody who emulates those values and those goals you want to achieve. But again, this is just our take on spirit guides or Genesis explanation. So if you have your own spiritual personal beliefs, like, go based on that as well. What,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if you prefer to work with like ancestors, this is something that we just got really wrapped up in like the deity part of it, but with ancestors, like you probably know who they were if they're like very recent ancestors, like grandparents, uncles, or even like friends or siblings that maybe have passed on, like you knew them, so you know what they like, so you could leave them like offerings or do things in their honor. Something that I was looking into when I was looking into ancestor work, what about people that come from like very sort of complex mixed backgrounds, like colonialism and stuff like
Yeah.
that? It's like, well, I have some fucked up ancestors, I don't want them coming through. So then your intention is just like any ancestors that want to, help me and not
Again,
set me
Mulan.
back. Exactly. Yeah. So that's
Oh,
just something that I forgot to mention that I
that's right,
wanted to
because
mention.
it is ancestors. Mobono is ancestral, correct?
I think so, but I don't know for sure. But I have a suspicion. But I just think it's funny that it likes to turn the light on and
Yeah,
off
you keep
all the
leaving
time.
offerings. I'm gonna start leaving the fucking light bill on your little altar because summer's coming and the AC bill is gonna crank up.
Yeah.
So awesome. These are all from Mercy. So, how can someone discern between their own thoughts and the guidance from a spirit guide? I'll let you take that first one.
Yeah, so I feel like if you're in a very like emotional state, but this is just divination period, like sometimes you're too close to see it objectively. Um, so I would maybe like wait till you're in like a more calmed state. I also think that like one of the more, how can I say it? One of the better tools to make sure it's not just like you kind of playing yourself like with a pendulum, maybe you move it subconsciously to like a letter that you want or something. I feel
The
like tarot
bias.
is good because like the cards fall how they fall. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the definitions are like pretty limited. Like if you see a three of swords, you're not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna find my soulmate. That means that you're usually getting cheated on, type of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just something that I recommend is maybe tarot. I feel like for those of us that need help distinguishing our thoughts from actual guidance, I feel like tarot is a really good tool.
And also, if like it's straight up you're hearing voices, that's completely. What's the thing you say? Like explore the mundane.
Mundane before the
Yeah,
metaphysical. There's a difference between clairaudience, which we've spoken about in the psychic abilities episode.
and auditory hallucinations.
I feel like it's slightly different though.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're like you hear a voice in your head saying like, "I'm your spirit guide, do this," that's probably no different than a spirit guide,
Yeah.
or not. I don't know. We've
Ye-
we've met some people who are like, "No, I hear the voices, and those are my guides."
Yeah, it's really hard to tell you what you're feeling. Like I just know what's my thought versus like what's not. I just it's a feeling I have and it sounds different and like that's just me though. It's hard to explain,
Cruising on vibes, basically.
basically.
All right. Is it possible for individuals to mistakenly identify a spirit guide as a more malevolent or evil entity? If so, what signs should one look for to differentiate between a benevolent spirit guide and a malevolent presence? That's a great fucking question. Go ahead.
Again, if you believe like in the supernatural, like there are actually like gods like that are like these whole other entities. I've heard that people like do protective circles, they do a lot of like grounding, they use protection oil, they use salt. Like there are a lot of ways to ground yourself. But if you're taking it more like the atheistic witch approach that I take, again, if I feel just very like emotional and amped up, it's basically gonna be gibberish and like not make sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are there any ethical considerations one should keep in mind when seeking to connect with spirit guides? And I think you kind of touched on it beautifully. Like, refrain from appropriating any cultures that maybe you're not a part of. And if you are interested, though, seek them out. Like, for example, it was an open invitation, but we have attended events where we're going to, native spaces, but it's a community event. They want the community to come to engage. So I think something of that. And then, if this is something that I think is very serious for you and you're like, you know what, this calls me and I want to learn more, take the time to maybe learn, where you come from, what your roots are. It's beautiful because not only are you able to connect closely to like your ancestors, but you discover kind of a whole new part of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, all right. I really like this episode. I wasn't too sure what to expect. I love how you eloquently put your beliefs into how you practice, and maybe something I do. So put some space on your altar.
All right.
Next topic. So we have to come up with our topics for, June. In September, I think we hit a year, right?
Was it
I think it was
September?
September. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
So we're about to hit a year doing this podcast. We need to
Wow.
definitely have a something special for that. We haven't come up with them, but we did get a request, and I do want to fulfill it just because she is incredible, and I think she definitely has supported us. But Mozzie asked specifically if we do, was it Gemini?
Yeah, I want to do the zodiac archetypes.
For all, eventually.
Like an overview. And then maybe later we could do specifically, but I will start with Gemini.
I was gonna say, okay, yeah. I was like,
it is Gemini season.
Yeah.
It's only fair.
Yeah, we got to give her what she asked for because she definitely deserves it. But I kind of like that. Again, just to recap, across the board, you're going to find Jen on all socials at Jen Kahlo. So if you are interested in following her, go ahead and do so. Email tarotwithgenesis@gmail.com. And yeah, make sure to check Instagram for next month's topics.
Yes. And also, before I forget, May 31st, I'm going to hit my 5-year anniversary as a practitioner. So when I started offering public like readings was May 31st of 2019.
That's awesome. Yeah, time flies, huh?
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.
Remember, the magic within you makes the world a more beautiful place. Blessed be, and signing off.